Welcome to Mondays with Mondane, where we explore topics and shape our lives and communities, especially the communities that are marginalized. Once again today, we're excited to be delving into the complex history of Black and Jewish relationships in the American Civil Rights Movement, the African American Civil Rights Movement, and every movement that brings us closer together. Our special guest once again tonight is Rabbi Ariel Stone, and she's the spiritual leader of Shir. Say it again.
Shir Tikva.
Shir Tikva, because I was scared to get it wrong. And we've been talking about the relationships between blacks and Jews. Welcome, Rabbi Stone.
Thank you. It's good to be here again.
It's good to have you always. You know, I got someone that commented about this topic, and they said to me that the greatest tool for pulling things together is unity.
Between individuals.
Between individuals.
And then with any luck, that grows into groups.
You know what I thought about since the last time you were here was how do we have shared services? You know.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I don't know if you know about this, but back in the 70s and 80s, it was a real sexy thing for Jews to have freedom seders for Passover. Because, we're so proud that, our story of leaving Egypt became such fodder for some of the greatest spirituals. Go down, Moses.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so, the children of Israel, right? And everyone can identify with those ancient children of Israel. And so I always thought that was pretty cool that my ancestors got to, give your ancestors some real inspiration.
Well, this has been going on a long time with us, hasn't it?
It has, if you think about it.
Yeah.
And so why does it get difficult sometimes, right? If we just stuck with the rhythm, maybe we could sing our way out of this.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think if we would just sing all the time and not talk, maybe that would help. But so these seders, unfortunately, it's a situation where if we're hosting and you're sitting there and being told what it's all about, it's not an equal power dynamic.
Yeah.
But then if you invite us over and you're doing your thing and it's very much, the fantastic kind of black church where everyone's yelling amen and it's the pastor is giving an hour-long sermon and everybody's fainting in the aisles.
Sometimes an hour and a half.
Right, there you go. Right. So and that's something where we're just guests.
Now, Rabbi, what is a Seder?
The Passover meal.
Ah, okay.
Right. So you get a whole evening of singing, things like Go Down Moses and We Shall Overcome and Lord knows what else. And the problem with both those experiences is that one of us is just a passive guest going, oh, that's nice, to the other. And so what you're really asking is how do two very different traditions find a way to share space where each is able to bring what's powerful in some way that creates a synergy of power rather than a sense that we have to just sit and listen to the other side because we can't meet in the middle for some reason.
Yeah.
So if the March on Washington happens on a Saturday, it leaves out all of the observant Jews because Saturday is our holy day.
Yeah.
Now, when you see that March this and March that is planned on a Jewish day, then you see what I'm saying about how Jews are a very small part of the population and no one gives a damn about our schedule or what days are holy to us. And if we show up, I'm sure there's going to be somebody trying to give me a ham sandwich, right? Because nobody thinks about those things. But more to the point, because Jews are such a... In the United States, Jews are not Jews. They're not a racial group. They're just white people who happen to pray on a different day and in a different language.
We have a different religion that represents
But they're still white.
Yeah.
Right? So when it comes to the civil rights movement, all us white people should be out there. Right? And so many Jews feel it's more important to be out there than to be Jewish. So the thing that we struggle with is we're very often asked to leave our distinctiveness at the door and just to show up as a white person.
Yeah.
And when we do that, it means we have to do violence to our identity.
Yeah.
And I want both. I want my distinctiveness, and I want to support your distinctiveness.
You know, we talked about last time how the Black Lives Matter movement is gone. There was a time when, during the Black Lives Matter movement, that you would see a sign in almost every yard, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. But now you can hardly find them anymore. and they just got away. You know, so does that mean that we stop educating? How do we educate about this in a better and a more deliberate way?
Well, you know, I'm not sure that it's that people don't care just because the signs aren't there. I'll tell you why. Back in that summer, I saw a lot of passion. I think it has something to do with, I don't want to just say that it's a fad that's come and gone. I don't think that's fair. Mm-hmm. I really think that right now there's just so much stress and so much fear in our lives that people welcome an opportunity to express what their passion and express what they care about. But then something else comes and it scares them, and then they feel like they have to express that. Frankly, my friend, I don't know if the big question is how you and I get together, or whether it's how do you and I stand together and hold hands against the coming climate apocalypse.
Wow.
Which isn't going to care what color my skin or your skin is.
I mean, it's happening right now.
So how do we treat each other as human beings and help each other in the face of something that might be coming down the pike that's going to equally affect all of us in ways that we would rather not think about?
You know, I made a statement during some of those marches on several occasions that got syndicated all over the world that said the blacks are first affected, last informed. You know, and then somebody else said that when white people catch a cold, black people get pneumonia.
That's right.
Okay. I think that our arsenals are not very strong, and we need to begin to understand where do we go to get the help, since we're the first infected or affected and the last informed. Where do we get the help, and how do we build up the arsenals in black communities? And how do we identify black communities anymore? Because they've been so gentrified. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Thank you. One of the producers said it's gentrification. African American, like in Portland, it used to be Northeast Portland.
Right.
It's no longer Northeast Portland. It's Gresham. Okay. So how do we build up the resistance that we need to have to what's happening in this apocalypse that we're beginning to see, and how do we prepare for it? And that's probably a good place to start.
So here's something I'd like to ask you about. In the Jewish community, up until very recently, where some of us were able to pass more effectively, Jews always lived in small, tight-knit groups where nobody who was non-Jewish lived there. Partly, I mean, sometimes it was a ghetto and no one else was allowed in, but Jews were very separate, and they drew their strength from each other, and they didn't trust anybody who wasn't Jewish.
Yeah.
And that's how they survived. They basically just hung in there and took care of each other.
Yes.
And then, so here's the thing. When the Holocaust happened, they were used to saying, okay, we'll just hang together and we'll duck, and at least some of us will survive. Nobody understood that there would be wholesale destruction and eradication of communities.
Yeah.
If they had, some of them would have been able to run, but many, of course, cannot.
Yeah.
So I wonder to an extent, and I think this is kind of a weird, radical thing possibly to say, but I wonder to what extent there is a healthy kind of a hanging on to each other, because the only person who really understands me is another person like me, and that has to be a base of our power.
Yeah.
So if you have a strong family, you can reach out to anybody and make common cause and unite around a common good.
Yeah.
But you have to come from a strong place. So when you talk about how do we strengthen our arsenals, how do we strengthen where we come from, how do Jews drop some of our self-hatred as Jews? How does the black community grow past all of the self-hatred it's been taught, that you've been taught about the color of your skin? The skin is so thin.
Yeah. Well, we have to get to the epidermis.
Right. Got to get below. Yeah, that's right.
We got to get below the skin.
Which is the living level.
Which is yes. And that's where life happens.
Right.
How do we get beneath that skin that's so thin and so irrelevant? Because I think it's with education, and it's with communication, and it's with being right in our face about this is what we're going to do, and make it so attractive that everybody wants to be a part.
Well, that's the thing. You have to be having fun yourself before people are going to join you.
Exactly.
Right? So if I'm throwing a party and it's an attractive party, then other people will want to join me doing it.
Yeah.
But if all I'm doing is hectoring you and telling you what you're doing wrong, the way the left polices and the way the left eats its young, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, if we just criticize each other all the time as not being quite left enough or not being quite woke enough, that doesn't work. We have to be able to invite each other in and say, "I'm glad you're here now."
There's something that just came to my mind. An African American and Jewish community festival of songs. We talked about how the Jewish community songs affected the Negro spirituals that are so popular today. I think if we start there. And, that's just an idea.
Yeah, no, but I like it very much. I mean, there's Jews who've really gotten into blues and jazz, too, right?
Yes.
So it's definitely a two-way street.
Yes.
Yeah, I think music's a beautiful place to start.
I think that's a real good place to start. And then I think that the Seders are real important, too, because everybody likes to
Eat.
Okay, so if we bring pulled pork, no.
See, so there's, that becomes kind of a weird thing, right?
Some chitlins and
yeah,
some pig feet
I hear you.
and some pig ears.
Thanks a lot. Right, exactly.
I'm talking to Ariel Stone. She is not only a rabbi, she's my sister and my friend, and she's really quite given to community involvement and wants people very much to get along. And we're talking about how Jews and African Americans have suffered some of the same plight, and we're going in the same direction, and how much we really need each other in this coming century. Let us delve into right now the bigger piece of the pie. How do we talked about closing the wealth the wealth barriers and the wealth gaps. How do we get past the color syndrome? How do we do that?
It's such a funny thing, isn't it? White people pay money to go to a tanning bed and get darker.
Well, I got a tan before I got here today.
and Jews with kinky hair used to women used to try to iron it straight.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe there are products like that in the black community as well.
Oh, yeah.
So there's this ideal of how you're supposed to look, which isn't really very Jewish and isn't very black. And both of us have been caught up in this desire to look like, I don't know, whatever the perfect person is supposed to look like. And it's such a culturally relative idea, right? Who is it even? Is it Barbie?
How about Jews and black fashion? Moving together in alignment after doing something like the big song fest. How about African American and Jewish fashion? Because I tell you what, they're so similar. Mm-hmm. And then this is what I don't understand. It's been said. My grandfather used to tell us all the time, don't forget about your Jewish heritage. There's Jew in you, and da 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 da. But when you talk to white people or white Jews or Jews, they say there's no such thing as black Jews. There's no we don't acknowledge black.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean that's just what people think, that you can't be black and be a Jew.
Well, that's silly. That I have black Jews in my congregation.
Wow. Tell us about that. I mean,
Yeah.
are there black Jews? And where do
Yeah,
they
of course
come
there's
from?
black Jews. Well, a lot of them came from Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a
Ethiopian
bunch of Jews in Ethiopia that have moved to Israel because Ethiopia isn't so easy to be a Jew in.
Yeah.
Right. So right now in Portland there are some Ethiopian Israeli Jews that I'm friendly with.
So the black Jews is a real thing.
They're so black.
It wasn't
And
just
you know what
Sammy
else?
Davis Jr.
Well, and it's a little bit like Barack Obama. These are black Jews that have never been enslaved. They're not African American Jews. There
Yeah.
are also African American Jews.
Yeah.
But there are black Jews from other places.
So we can hang up that hat that says there is no black Jews.
There are so many Jews of color,
I'm
of
glad you
all
spoken
kinds of
of it.
colors.
Yeah.
Yes, there are. As a matter of fact, Israel is mostly Jews of color.
Wow.
Many black and many brown.
You don't hear that said.
Well,
But then when
most
you
of
get
what
there
you
and
get
you
in the
see
media,
it.
that's right. Most of what you get in the media, anywhere, Portland, Oregon, Israel, anywhere, is just a tiny slice off the top of what's real and what's true.
I think that's a great point of education as well. When we began to talk about not just the history of our working together, but the history of who we are together as a powerful people. The resilience that these us black people have. It sounds weird, us black people, because we are powerful together.
So much power.
Wow.
If you think about the lie of white supremacy,
Yeah.
right? And the way in which it's infected even the way we look at life, hierarchical, or certain things have to go in certain ways according to certain expectations. There's so many ways in which we use frameworks of white supremacy without really being aware of it and complicate our lives by it. Even the whole idea of white saviorism is unnecessarily complicated. What
This
if
is the
you
second time you mentioned white
Yeah.
saviorism. Let's talk about that a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
before we run out of time.
Yeah. White saviorism comes out of what could be a very innocent desire to help. But if I want to save you, I haven't really checked in with you to see what you need. And I'm also not.
This is what you need.
But I'm also not empowering you to be your own self, right? The only help any human being needs is help so that they can thrive to be their own self. Nobody needs to be. I think there's a little. The white saviorism is kind of a Christian thing,
Yeah.
but it's also kind of.
I think that's fair to say.
But I think Jews have also picked up on it as an American white person thing.
Yeah.
I think it's part of the weirdness of assimilation for the American Jewish community. Those who are able to pass as white also are able to get into this place of believing, oh, well, we have everything. The least we can do is share it with the peons, right? And that doesn't help anybody to become a whole person.
I think it's probably better framed in when you see wrongdoing and you do nothing about it. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, to him that knoweth to do well and do it not, to him it is sin. And I think that when we say, I see this as a problem, but I don't want to get involved and I will do nothing to help fix it, that's where we sin.
That's even worse, right? So
Yes.
I guess sometimes we say, I'd rather have a white savior than nothing at all.
Yeah.
Let's be realistic.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Wow.
And in Judaism, we say if you do something for the wrong reason, it's better than not doing it. And if you do it for the wrong reason, maybe you'll get around to doing it for the right reason.
You know, I think that I want us to think very thoughtfully about that music fest. And I think that we want to think very thoughtfully about that fashion fest. If there's anybody that's looking at this show tonight, let's chime in. And I want you ask you, is this something that you're interested in doing? And if you are interested, please leave your comments in the box below or call us here at Celebration Tabernacle and or get in touch with Mondays with Mondene. We're going to tell you how to do that on the screen. You know, Rabbi, it's been so wonderful having you here tonight. And these last 2 weeks, amen. What's coming up for you?
Ooh, we're coming up to one of the high points of the Jewish year. Right. We have High Holy Days coming up. Mm-hmm. We're going to do a lot of time in prayer, in song, in contemplation of where we have missed the mark in our lives and how we can do better in the coming year.
So what do you got coming up personally? You've got a big workshop or something that you're going to be doing.
Oh, I'm privileged to be asked to be part of trying to help our community hold on to human values vis-a-vis our neighbors who live in tents.
Okay.
And I'm going to be part of a seminar, a workshop, a convention that's coming up on that.
You know, I think that we forget, just like in understanding the power and the resilience in African Americans, we forget that these people who are homeless are probably some of our greatest answers to some of the stuff that we're going through. It's a lot to do, and it's a lot to be thoughtful about. As we get ready to close, I wanted to thank you for being a part of this broadcast today. And if you enjoyed this podcast, I'd like you to share this podcast with somebody in your circles and share those with the people that you love. And if you want to see us here in person, you can come to 8131 North Denver on Sunday mornings at 11 o'clock. And we'd love to see you here. I want to thank our sponsors, Poshines. As a matter of fact, we got something for Poshines.
Oh.
We have, and this is kosher. It's kosher. It's been blessed by the sweet potato pie.
Thank
all the way
you.
To the top,
that's beautiful.
And I want you to take that home and eat it. Now
I'm going to eat it.
And it's got pig feet in there.
Oh, you stop it. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Turn on your notifications so you never miss a thing from Mondays with Mondene. And be sure to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. And a special shout out to Poshines, Aunties and Tanties Daycare, Adorn Electric for their support in this podcast. And you can visit me on Sunday mornings, as I said again, right here at Celebration Tabernacle in Portland, Oregon. A special thank you to our technical staff, Dion, Robin, Andy, and Paul. Not one of them is bigger than the other, and they all stand tall. And these are the guys that make everything possible right here. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That is the community rule. I'm glad that you stopped in tonight. God bless you. Hey, I've got a real important announcement. I am so pleased to have finished my new book. It's called Maladies to Melodies. It's my memoirs, a story of my life and all the things that have made me who I am. Listen, it's going to be one of these covers, and I'd like you to help me make that decision. If you like the one that has the piano on it or just my charming face, let us know in the comments so that we can take your choices into consideration. It's going to be available to you in September, and I'm looking forward to sharing my life with you. God bless.
Hey, it's time for you to come to Poshine. Check out that catfish sandwich. Oh my goodness, is that the shrimp po' boy? Man, look at that chocolate chip cake. Man, I need to get over to Poshine's at 8139 North Denver right now because this food looks delicious. Or call if you'd like, 503-978-9000. And don't miss it, you'll be sorry.
In times gone past, we find ourselves making excuses so that people reminded, ooh, I've got to get home and tend to the brand new missus. I need some time alone. Can't this wait until I finish texting on my phone?